Good morning. We're at a different spot this morning, people. We're at the Sea of Galilee. We're up on the north end of the Sea of Galilee. And here we're looking at Tiberias. And do you hear the cock crowing? Maybe my microphone can pick it up. And so we're going to head up a little bit of a hill here for a nice little surprise. Today is a very special day for me and for a lot of my confreres, and actually for a lot of other religious order members of different religious orders. And also I saw yesterday a post, and I forget who it was, but it was asking prayers for a bishop who was ordained on this day. So this is a very special day, and we're at a very special place. So I'm going to take you up here if you don't mind. So put on something like, don't just use slippers, okay? We're going up here. Be careful, don't get caught in the barbed wire. There's lots of it here. Let's get back here and check out the sunrise. Can't miss that, because this is Sunrise Stroll and Chat. Where is the sunrise gone? Well, maybe I need to go up a little higher up. So we're going up here, and there we have the sunrise again. I'm going to take you up here a little bit first, and then we're going to come back down for something very special that I just passed and didn't let you see. So the path goes on up here, and now you can see a very beautiful sunrise. Can you hear the cock? The cock is crowing. This is the primacy of Peter. This is where the miracle is remembered of the 153 fish after the resurrection. And right over the taller trees there you can see Mount Arbel. There's the rooster. You hear the rooster. Look at this here. Look at Mount Arbel and the horns of Hittim. That'll be a conversation for another day. So Magdala is right behind the tree there under Mount Arbel. Well, actually it's probably a little to the right of it because perspectives change. So it's actually a little bit to the right of those tall trees here. So let's put it more or less in the dead center of the screen right now from our perspective, right beside the tree there. That's where Magdala is. And we're a good ways away. I didn't show you my bicycle when I was coming up. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of it. So we're going up here. Just be careful where you're putting your foot, okay? Well, there you can see my bicycle. Well, not my bicycle, it's there at Magdala. And somebody kindly let me use it. Where is it? Oh, that's garbage over there. Sorry. There it is. Look. That's how I got here. Okay, so let's do the serious things here. although a bicycle is a serious thing, especially when the chain slipped off this morning on the way here. I'm going to put up the tripod properly now so we can have a bit more comfort. I didn't realize the Franciscans keep roosters here at the primacy, so it's nice to know this. So they probably have some fresh eggs for breakfast. And it was around here Jesus said, "Did you catch anything for breakfast?" So the Franciscan runs out and said, "Yeah, we have 3 new eggs here. We're okay for breakfast this morning." So we're up higher. I'll settle down the tripod here so you have more comfort. There we go. Today is a very special day, people. Very, very special day. For me, personally, 46 years ago today, imagine I was still a teenager, ready to go to university to study physics. And instead of getting orientation at University 101, I was getting introduced to religious life. And on this day, I received my religious garb. It's called, in Ireland it was called a soutane at that time. In America they called it a cassock. Many religious orders call it the religious habit, what they wear habitually. And you know the expression that the habit doesn't make the monk. So there's a lot more involved. It's a whole lifestyle. Just like a ring doesn't make a marriage, but it's good to have it. But there's much more to the ring than the ring. So today is a very special day historically for Christianity in these parts, because it marked a moment of recovery after a very hard time. When Christianity was persecuted for the first centuries, and Jesus foresaw that and prepared the disciples for that. We had so many martyrs, although we have had more martyrs in the 20th century than we had in all centuries before that put together. And then Christianity became legal. It was no longer a condemned religion by the Roman Empire. And then it thrived, and not everything was perfect for sure, but that's humanity and human history. And when people have power, sometimes they abuse it, and that can also be true of Christians. But anyway, at one point we have a huge conquest here by the Persians, which is present-day Iran. And it was an ancient history of rivalry that continued on afterwards as well, even to the present day in a way. And the leader was Khosroes, and he led an army here to take revenge on the Greeks, led by Alexander the Great, who had bloodied the nose of the Persian Empire. And it was time to take revenge because it was already a little over 800 years since that happened. So, memory lives on here in the East very powerfully, like sometimes it lives on in our own hearts very powerfully. Memories of hurt, of humiliation, and it's time to take revenge. So that was, let's say, a title or a headline for what happened. And in 614 they came here, and that put an end to the flourishing Byzantine Empire, which in many ways was a Christian reality, but also in many ways a lot of things could use a lot more of the gospel message. But that's also life and history. So then the next thing that happens is the Holy Sepulchre was destroyed and all the monasteries. The only place that wasn't destroyed was the Nativity Church in Bethlehem, because the wise men were dressed in Persian garb in the representation. So the Persians said, "This has something to do with us, we won't destroy it." That's what's explained to all the visitors and pilgrims here. And so that sanctuary, that basilica, is still there since Helena built it. It's been expanded and monasteries built there and so forth, but it's the only one that's left from early Christianity in the Holy Land. Good. So now we were talking there about the year 614. And the next step is that in 629 the Emperor Heraclitus was able to recover the cross that was also taken in the booty that Chosroes had taken from Jerusalem. And so there was a big celebration that the Holy Cross where Jesus had died was recovered. And this became known as the Feast of the Exaltation of the Cross. And it's a gospel spirituality, because Jesus said, when I am lifted up, exalted, I will bring all people to myself. I will draw all hearts to myself. It's an amazing mystery that through suffering, hearts are drawn together. An amazing mystery. How through suffering, hearts are brought together, are drawn together. Amazing. So, the exaltation of the cross. Well, anyway, it's a feast day on the liturgical calendar. In fact, it's celebrated here as a solemnity because we're living in the land where the Holy Sepulchre is, and in Jerusalem, you know. And so it's a great day. And on this day, because of the exaltation of the cross, what did Jesus say? He said, he was teaching the disciples right here. We're on the Mount of Beatitudes, people. Right up here, let me show you something else. Right across here where the sun is just a little to the left is Capernaum. Let's say if we follow those cars right now on the road, in about 1 minute they're going to be passing by Capernaum. I could walk there maybe in about 20-25 minutes. Let's do that some morning. And then up here we have the Mount of Beatitudes. This is the Mount of Beatitudes. We're standing on it. You're standing on the Mount of Beatitudes this morning, at least via this camera. And then up here is the Church of the Beatitudes. And then over here we have the primacy of Peter, as I mentioned, down here. And then just beyond the trees, there are actually sisters that have a lovely little place called Living Water. We must get their consent someday to go in there. And then just beyond that is the Benedictine monastery of the multiplication of the loaves. And actually over the hill brow you can see the Pilger House, which is a wonderful place for pilgrims to stay. Been there many, many times with groups of pilgrims, run by the German Catholic Church. It's a place of great service, beautiful, very clean, good, healthy, good food. Rooms are simple, a little monastic, but they are delightful and clean, and you're right beside the lake. So it's a lovely place to stay. So here we have the sun rising on the 14th of September 2020. And the cross is abundantly present in our lives. And here on this area, Jesus was teaching about the cross. And he said to the disciples, if you want to follow me, deny yourself every day, take up your cross and follow me. So the exaltation of the cross, it's interesting that everywhere you go, the cross is the symbol of disciples of Jesus. And it's because it's the path. You know, if that truck tries to go to Capernaum along the side of the mountain, it's not going to go very far. But if it follows the road, it'll be there in a minute. And the cross is the path to union with God. That's amazing, isn't it? And God himself incarnate chose that path. And we shun the cross and we want to get rid of it. And it's a huge opportunity. So the exaltation of the cross helps us to recalibrate and to think, what is the light coming from the cross? How does the cross reflect in my life? What is the blessing coming to me through the cross? And let's go to the readings. And the readings are very interesting because already in the Hebrew scriptures, there's a marvelous text we have today from the book of Numbers, chapter 21. And I bet you can relate to the words that are chosen here, to the vocabulary. With their patience worn out. Has that ever happened to you? My patience is worn out. You're wearing me down. My patience is running out. You know, be careful, anything can happen. With their patience worn out by the journey. How long has your journey been? A very good friend, Matthew, had posted today that his mother passed away at 90 years of age. God rest her soul. God comfort the family. 90-year journey. Father Salvador here celebrated 80 years of life. With their patience worn out by the journey, and yet Father Salvador is very happy and joyful. It's amazing, you know, to see these 90-year-olds and 100-year-olds giving us a great lesson about life. With their patience worn out by the journey. Now listen to the next words. The people complained. Ring a bell? The people complained against God and Moses. Why have you brought us up from Egypt to die in this desert? It wasn't enough to complain against Moses, but against God. Does that ever happen to us? Why have you brought us up from Egypt to die in this desert where there is no food or water? We are disgusted with this wretched food. Have you ever said that? I'm even shocked. I won't tell you the story now because it'd be too much time for a trivial story, but it happened back in 1979 in Michigan. And a kid opened up his sandwich in the school table for lunch break, and I was there organizing little activities for them, football games and little formation sessions. And he just opened it up, and it was an incredible sandwich. I mean, my mom never made a sandwich like that for me in terms of ingredients and all this stuff. And it was covered in what do you call that paper that you use for cooking? It's silver. Well, anyway, aluminum paper. And it was all perfect in a lovely bag and everything. And as soon as he opened up and saw what was inside it, he chucked it in the garbage and said, "Oh, yuck!" I won't tell you the rest of the story because it's off the point right now. But we are disgusted with this wretched food. That kid saw an incredible sandwich and he called it disgusted, with this wretched food. In punishment, the Lord sent among them serpents, which bit the people so that many of them died. This is a little bit mysterious, this whole thing now, but let's follow through. Then the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned in complaining against the Lord and you. Pray to the Lord to take the serpents from us." The value of intercessory prayer. So Moses prayed for the people, and the Lord said to Moses, "Make a seraph and mount it on a pole. And if any who have been bitten look at it, they will live." So the word "mounted on a pole" is the exact same word that John uses in his gospel when Jesus says to Nicodemus, "When I am lifted up, when I am mounted on the cross, I will draw all people to myself." I want to show you something very special. That's why I came here, and I need to do that now. But I will let you look at the rest of the readings. You'll have the link. And there's a beautiful line in the Psalm. "Do not forget the works of the Lord." And that's what I'm doing today, because 46 years ago today, I followed Jesus' call. I had already heard it. I've been working on that for a little bit. And instead of going to study physics in the university, I ended up precisely following Jesus, just like the first disciples. And I left my family and cows and sheep. And by that time we did have a tractor. We did have electric generator, so we did have electricity then. We didn't have a telephone yet. And I followed Jesus and made life commitments then, like Jesus said, "Deny yourself and follow me." A commitment to poverty, not to own anything, and I haven't owned anything in my name for 46 years. Maybe some formalities just for technicalities, but it's not my property. I'm going down here, people, so just be careful. Hold on to your armchair railing, onto your stairs if you're walking on the stairs, because the ground is a little rough. I don't want to bump you. So we're going to see something very special here behind this bush. Most pilgrims don't get to do this, okay? But they talk about it. They say it in the bus they're passing by, or the bus slows down on the road, and they say, "Oh, look at this here. This special, look what it is. A cave." So here we are at a very special cave. There are not too many along here. Actually, I don't know another one on the Mount of Beatitudes. There's lots of them in Mount Arbel. So if you'd like to go inside the cave, welcome. Now, why is this cave special? Well, we know that Jesus preached very much in this area, very much. And he was always on the move, walking from town to town, village to village, synagogue to synagogue. And we know that Jesus spent the night in prayer. And sometimes it would be cold or rainy, windy. And this is the only cave here on the mountainside that we know of. And there's a long tradition that understood that Jesus prayed here. Early pilgrims who left diaries, and they didn't have Facebook posts back then, but they left a record that there was veneration of this cave as a place where Jesus would have prayed. And this is very special, people, because the big point here is that Jesus withdrew to pray. And maybe also here in this area in Galilee, he was teaching the disciples, like we read in the Gospels, come follow me on this path. It's not an easy path. It's rocky, stony, uphill, thorny bushes. You know, you might slip, you might graze your knee. But actually the more difficult part of the path is selfishness. Not paying attention to the others. Looking out only for yourself. And complaining. You know, just like we read in the book of Numbers. And the amazing thing is that God himself, who had everything at his fingertips, chose to enter our human nature in this way and become man. And here to preach this message at the Sea of Galilee, the message of the cross, but to end up going to Jerusalem to be exalted on the cross. And you know, we love the cross, and some people have many beautiful crosses, but the most beautiful cross is the little daily suffering that we offer up. And in order to do that, to discover the sweetness of the cross, imagine the sweetness of the cross, we need our little cave. We need a place where we can withdraw and not be troubled by all the social media chats, even this chat. And where we have our little cave, where we withdraw from the world, its noise and bustle, and we enter into dialogue with God, into his company, into his presence, come into the presence of the Lord with joy. Come in with thanksgiving. So that's the little bike that I came with from Magdala. And there's the cave up there. You see that bush up there? That's where we headed. And then we had that big rock up earlier. So this is the spot right here across from the primacy of Peter. In fact, there was a Byzantine church just on the other side of this hill. There's still the ruins are there. Probably a monastery of the Mount of Beatitudes. And then there was another one over where the multiplication of the loaves are. On the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem in Byzantine period, there were 27 different monasteries. We know that maybe there were more, but there were at least that. So the Christians really walked in the path of Jesus, meditating, contemplating. And even when we pray and meditate and contemplate, it doesn't fix everything for us. Because there's a huge transformation needed in our hearts and our lives. And that transformation is not easy. But prayer makes it possible. So I wish you today a wonderful day of blessing. And now I'm going to be heading back to Magdala. And it's right over there. I was just thinking about that now. So that tall cypress tree in the middle of the screen is actually right covering up Genosar, the place where the ancient boat is on display. And then just about a kilometre south of there along the water is a little less than a mile, is Magdala. People, let me share a couple of little technicals. First of all, thank you for all your support and all your teamwork. Yesterday I was at Gideon's Spring with our community for a little outing. It's just north of the mountains of Gilboa, south of Nazareth and Mount Tabor. And I put up an Instagram post, and I'm thrilled that so many people liked it so much. I didn't put anything on Facebook at that moment, just on the Instagram post. But then I noticed, do you hear the bells? You hear the bells? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I think those are the Benedictine bells. The Franciscan ones have a different sweet sound. So I just want to make a point about that Instagram post, is that it covered up the previous one, which was about forgiveness. And I know a lot of people have written comments also personally to me how much they were blessed by inspirations through that little Instagram of early morning at the sunrise yesterday, and many people didn't get to see it because they were taken by the Gideon one, and usually you just see one. But I encourage people to go back to the themes of forgiveness that we also did yesterday at Magdala. Very powerful theme, and the readings were very, very special, very powerful, very helpful. And we all have wounds that need to be healed, and that can also be part of our cross. And it can become actually a sweet cross down the road with prayer if we find our little cave. May you find your cave today where you can be alone with God and also withdraw there every day for a little time to have your personal chat. And the cross will become sweet, and you will find that you will be exalted with Christ, and it will be a blessing for many, many, many people. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Delighted to have you here. I'm just going to show you what somebody gave me recently. Look at this. So there are lots of flies here at the cave, and they gave me a net. See this net? So it was very helpful this morning, and I say a big thank you to all of you who have been so helpful all the time. God bless you from the Sea of Galilee this morning.